Let me ask you first, have you become fluent in your native language only after learning grammar? No, right? Even I, a 100% native Korean, learned Korean grammar first when I was 17. However, I was already fluent in Korean even before learning Korean grammar. From our own experiences, we can draw one conclusion. We can be fluent in a language without learning grammar itself. In other words, you can be fluent in Korean without learning grammar itself too, right? But many Korean learners, beginners in particular, put a lot of their time and effort into learning grammar itself. Although I agree that following grammar rules is important, it won't work for you to spend a lot of time learning grammar itself. Why? The more you learn Korean grammar itself, the more you censor your Korean sentences even before you speak them. Is what I'm going to speak grammatically correct? Something like that. And the more you censor your Korean grammar, the more pauses you make. Simply put, you're getting far away from fluency. Korean people who learn English in Korea, for example, they're grammatically great in general, but can't communicate in English. Because they have learned English in a grammar-focused way, they censor their grammar too much. You won't ever call them fluent English speakers. At this point, you might be curious like, so, you mean don't ever think of learning Korean grammar? That's not what I meant. You have to learn Korean grammar to be fluent in Korean. Otherwise, you would speak just a disordered, chaotic set of words. However, what I mean learning Korean grammar is not the way you think. What I mean is learning grammar without learning grammar. Don't tell me you're kidding me. I'll explain right away with an easy explanation. The best way to learn grammar without learning grammar is to follow the exact process we've already experienced in our native languages. Doing so, you can speak grammatically correct sentences without knowing particular grammatical principles. At this point, I can hear someone telling me, so you said all the vast explanations just to say read a lot, write a lot, listen a lot, and speak a lot? Of course not. Everybody knows we have to take and make as much input and output as possible to be fluent in our target languages. So instead, I want to explain specifically the process of how we've become fluent in our native languages, so that you can get a specific Korean learning method. Let's look into the process of how we've learned our native languages. At first, we don't know anything about our native languages. In that state, we start being exposed to many sentences and their sounds. For example, I want you to help me, I want you to apologize to her, and I want you to see this. While you're exposed to them, your brain starts extracting patterns from them. For example, hearing, I want you to help me, I want you to apologize to her, and I want you to say this, you realize this. People say, I want you to verb when they wish for something from others. I think I can utilize that pattern like this. I want you to be happy. I want you to take a shower first. I want you to take me home. With the same process as that, you learn and utilize various sentence patterns again and again. This is how you've become fluent in your native language. To sum up, you can be fluent in Korean too, following these steps. First, be exposed to Korean as much as possible so that your brain can make a Korean language dataset. Second, extract Korean sentence patterns from your Korean language dataset. Third, utilize the Korean sentence patterns you've extracted. This is obviously the most natural way for you to be fluent in Korean. But this method has one problem. That is, it might take years to collect a valid amount of data enough to extract and utilize sentence patterns. Think about this. It takes years even for native speakers who are exposed to the language for 24 hours. Then how much time is needed for Korean learners who learn Korean for 2 to 3 hours a day? But fortunately, I know one particular approach that can innovatively shorten time for you to follow the process I've mentioned. That is, to learn Korean sentence patterns from the first place. To make you understand this, let's go back to the process of how we've learned our native languages. First, be exposed to language as much as possible so that your brain can make a language dataset. Second, extract sentence patterns from your language dataset. Third, utilize the sentence patterns you've extracted. From this process, we pointed out it might take too much time in the first step. Also, now we know the key thing to fluency is to learn and utilize sentence patterns. If so, would it be possible to shorten time by learning sentence patterns from the first place? The answer is yes. Paul Nation, a world-renowned linguist, said, Learn useful phrases and sentences as whole units, but also make sure you understand their parts and how they fit together. In its writing, what do you need to know to learn a foreign language? And if you learn sentence patterns, you can do the same as what Paul Nation said. For example, if you learn this Korean sentence pattern, noun, 어때요? You can speak thousands of natural Korean sentences like this. 피자 어때요? 초록색 어때요? And so on. Also, you can understand noun should come before 어때요 right away. And you can understand 어때요 means how about at the same time. Furthermore, if you learn this pattern too, noun 1 말고 noun 2 어때요, you can also understand this right away. noun 어때요, noun 1 말고 noun 2 어때요. By seeing this, I believe you understand the meaning of noun 말고 as instead of noun. To sum up, if you learn Korean sentence patterns, you can naturally follow one of the most effective ways to learn a new language introduced by a world-renowned linguist. Most of all, I am the beneficiary of sentence pattern learning. As you know, I'm a 100% native Korean and I've never been outside of Korea, except for 3 days on a high school trip to Japan. So, I wasn't capable of speaking English almost at all. It was just a dream for me to communicate in English with native speakers. But by learning English sentence patterns, my English skills started soaring like a rocket. Can you believe it took less than a year for me to speak English this much? For people who still don't believe how effective learning sentence patterns is, I'll make you feel it directly. Try to make a complete Korean sentence with the same meaning as this sentence. I think tea is better than coffee. Can you say it in Korean right away? Maybe it takes some time. However, what if you know this Korean sentence pattern? noun 1, 이가, noun 2, 보다 더 낫다고 생각해요. If that's the case, you can easily say, I think tea is better than coffee in Korean right away. Because all you have to do is just fill in two words, 차 and coffee, like this. 차가 커피보다 더 낫다고 생각해요. It's fast and super easy, right? As you saw right before, you can create and speak thousands of complete Korean sentences fast by just changing words. Think about this. What if you learn and utilize hundreds of Korean sentence patterns? If then, it's no longer a dream for you to communicate easily with Koreans. It's no longer a dream for you to understand K-dramas or K-pop songs as they are. Isn't it heart-pounding? At this point, you might wonder, so, how should I learn Korean sentence patterns? If you're a Korean beginner, it's the easiest to learn essential Korean sentence patterns composed by a native Korean. If so, where to find them? You don't have to go to different places. Because for you, I made this book, Korean Patterns 262 for Beginners. In fact, I had no plans to make such a book in the first place, but at least I couldn't find any Korean pattern book that matches the conditions below. First, a book that can make even beginners speak complete Korean sentences. Second, a book that can make you absorb verb, adjective, conjugation rules and Korean sentence structure naturally. Third, a book that can help you reading, writing, listening, speaking all at once. So I couldn't help but to make Korean Patterns 262 for Beginners, which satisfies all three conditions I've mentioned. Anyway, Korean Patterns 262 is an ebook with 351 pages, and this book contains 262 plus basic but essential Korean sentence patterns and 1310 plus sample sentences with audio. Most of all, Korean Patterns 262 has a conjugation table that contains 1266 essential verbs and adjectives with various conjugated forms, so that you can easily internalize verb, adjective, conjugation rules. Alright then, I'm going to show you how to improve your Korean effectively with Korean Patterns 262 for Beginners. The first part of this book is the noun pattern part. In this part, there's nothing difficult for you, because all you have to do is fill in nouns whatever you want. In this part, you can understand how Korean particles work and how Korean sentences are structured. The second part is the verb adjective pattern part. In this part, to practice these patterns, you need to know conjugation rules. But don't worry, I put conjugation rules here. Also, I put the explanations that show how conjugation rules were applied for every sample sentence. It's not over yet. Some people might think 5 examples are not enough to understand conjugation rules. So, for those people, I put something amazing at the bottom right of this book. If you scan this QR code or click here, you can see the verb-adjective conjugation table. The conjugation table contains 1266 essential verbs and adjectives, and you can easily check how the form of verbs or adjectives changes according to the various word endings. And all 1266 words within the conjugation table are designated by topic as essential words for Korean beginners and intermediate learners. Simply put, even with this one book, you can practice conjugation with every essential verb and adjective for beginners and intermediate learners. By utilizing this conjugation table, you can double your learning efficiency compared to when you don't use it. I'll show you a representative way to utilize the conjugation table. Step 1. Choose a pattern you want to practice. Let's say you want to learn this pattern. 좀, adjective, 요. Step 2. Open the conjugation table and choose a word you want to practice. Let's say you chose this word, 가늘다. Step 3. Read the explanation of the conjugation rule and try to conjugate the word on your own. Let's do it together. What should 가늘다 turn into by combining 요? The stem of 가늘다 is 가늘, and the last syllable of 가늘 does not contain o or a. Also, the last syllable of 가늘 does not contain a or 에 or 여. Lastly, the last syllable of 가늘 does not end with ha. Therefore, I think 어 should be added to 가늘, the stem of 가늘다. So, 가늘어. If so, 가늘다 plus 좀 adjective 요 should be 좀 가늘어요. Is that right? Let's check the answer in the conjugation table. Scrolling down until 가늘다 comes up. Here, let's find out if you got the right answer. All you have to do is find the point that 가늘다 and 요 meet. Oh, we got the right answer. The answer is 가늘어. As you saw right before, if you learn with Korean Patterns 262, you can easily learn essential Korean patterns and verb-adjective conjugation rules all at once with only one book. And the third part of the book is the complex pattern part. In this part, you will practice these kinds of sentence patterns. By the time you finish even this part, your Korean skills will never be the same as before. Furthermore, Korean Pattern 262 has other useful features. This book has several easy but core explanations regarding the points that are difficult for most Korean beginners. For example, many Korean beginners have hard times understanding why my mom is translated into 우리 엄마, or what's the exact meaning of 은는. Including those, I put many useful explanations into this book. Furthermore, I designed Korean Patterns 262 for you to be able to practice reading, writing, listening, and speaking all at once. So I put audio for every sample sentence and the sounds of hard to pronounce words into this book. You can listen to the audio by scanning the QR code at the bottom left or clicking here. Every sample sentence is read by 2 people, 1 man and 1 woman, to help you learn the pronunciation. In other words, you can listen to the natural pronunciation of 1310 plus sample sentences. Lastly, I put pattern review pages that have a short conversation format in this book so that you can understand which situation or circumstance is natural to use those patterns. And I put some more Korean sentence patterns besides 262 patterns in the book for you. For your information, I poured my heart and soul into this one book for 3 months entirely. As I made it with so much care, my book won't let you down, believe me. Anyway, if you want to get my book, Korean Patterns 262 for Beginners, please check out the link in the pinned comment or description of this video. Alright, this is what I prepared for you in today's video. By any chance, if you have any questions about Korean language or if you want to ask me to deal with certain topics, feel free to leave your comment on my video. Thank you so much for watching this video and have a nice day.